Oh no, man. Now we have to stream, bro.
I literally press start streaming now. Stop. Okay, I gotta like all this traveling, man, has got me stressed out, man. I'll be real. Got me all fucked up.
No.
Where the fuck are you guys? Are you in the game?
Yeah, in the lobby.
Yeah, we're chilling.
Motherfucker's masters with 42k, dude.
Yeah.
Fucking Wait, I need music before I lose my mind. Lose yourself in the music the moment you want it.
The moment you want it, go, go.
Go, go, go.
And I was believing in myself, I'm gonna reach Pred.
Yeah, I mean, the way we were going, we were, but yeah.
6 players in queue.
No fucking way, it's 1 PM, dude. Relax. Relax.
Holy shit! I hope there's no problems with getting the t-shirts or anything. I don't want to walk around in my XL t-shirt, dude.
Dude, surely there's not only 9 masters queuing right now. Come on, there's a fucking million masters.
You wanna see how tight it sits on me, the t-shirt?
Sure.
You have it on now?
No, I'll put it on for a sec. I'll fucking show you.
Let's see this shit. What's up, chat? Good morning. We just came out of a meeting.
What is this?
Shut the fuck up!
Ben 2901 just resubscribed for 8 months. Hi RPRS.
What is this? It's 2XL, dude.
Ben, thank you
Yeah,
very
walk
much.
around with
Welcome
this?
back.
I look like a fucking child. Dude, ain't no way. Look at this shit, dude. Look at my back, though. Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. Massive
Dorito,
juicy
man.
back, dude.
Oh my god. Holy fuck,
Yeah,
dude.
insane amounts of back you gotta go in over there.
Oh. Dude, I'm actually fucking massive, dude.
Yeah, you're gigantic, dude.
I need a haircut before I go. I look like a fucking Neanderthal, dude.
Same.
I don't know what kind of haircut I'm getting, dude.
Do a
I just got mine
soldier style.
the other day.
Soldier style, dude.
Huh? 5mm everywhere.
What's up, chat? Hey guys, in. Yo, Krillix, what the fuck? I just got on.
I thought about
Cry.
getting like one of those crazy haircuts where I cut like all my hair off, you know?
Thank you, Krillix.
And then I
user
draw
rate.
on
Appreciate you.
You know? So that
Gorilla,
makes sense.
thank you for 5 months. Welcome
Shut the
back.
fuck up!
I
just
send you a picture.
resubscribed for 5 months.
Gonna
Couldn't
draw
watch
it.
last year
Krillix,
the Elves, but
arigato,
congrats, man, never doubted
Minasan,
RPR kiss.
konbawa,
Yeah.
yokoso, thank you, welcome everyone. Krillix, thank you. Hope you had a good stream.
I'll send a picture in SCARZ Discord. Like this, dude.
What are you sending?
Do it,
Just
dude.
like that,
I mean,
I'm pretty military cut right now. It's pretty short.
I wish I was. I wish I could. But people just gonna make fun of my big ass forehead, dude. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with having a big ass forehead. Mina 808s. I just play this fucking game, dude. Kom maar. You gotta update the Excel shit later after the stream. The day you arrive and the day you leave, okay? Both of you. I just don't want me. Fuck you guys.
What, dude? No,
Both of you have to update the Excel.
I had a big amount of money coming in right there. I had to, you know.
How much? 5 gifted?
5K. Bits.
Huh? Oh shit, 50 juicers?
Yeah, that was 50 juicers, dude.
50 big ones, dude.
No, what'd you say?
You have to update the Excel shit. Both of you. When you arrive and depart.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not now, but, you know. Just so you know. Is anyone here with us? What?
I don't think so. I gotta change my thing. I can't hear anything in the end. Sorry.
Where's my wingman? There we go. Take this as well. Thank you.
Dude, a meta I would like to see. That could be super fun. It's never gonna happen though. Dude, Ashe, Wraith, and like Lifeline or some shit.
Why lifeline?
Like 3 insanely small characters. That'd be kind of gang, dude.
What's up, baby? What's in here?
Cool.
I don't know. Maybe.
I think it'd be cool.
I used to play Lifeline for 11.
Mr. T, dude.
Same, man, same.
You're a Lifeline main.
Yeah,
Lifeline, I was Lifeline.
He wasn't gonna let go of Lifeline, ever did. That guy was gonna play forever.
I screwed with Lifeline back then, dude. Good old days.
I remember I played Bangalore. Oh, nice.
Bangalore.
Yeah, I was Bangalore player right then.
I was Lifeline, then Wraith, and that was it.
Yeah, I've switched a bunch of times, dude. I was Wraith, then I was Bangalore, then I was fucking Pathfinder, then I was Wraith again, then I was back to Path, Gibby. Yeah, I think that's it.
And now you're gonna be below down.
Who's shooting?
I don't have blood on it. I can't play it.
Wait, I just killed a Marvin and I got nothing on my Evo. What? Is that Marvin supposed to give Evo?
They changed that, I guess.
What the fuck?
Last patch.
You have a problem with me, man? Oh, they're up there, Dude, please, I'm going to die. I am never getting a call with you ever again. Holy shit.
I had you. You couldn't jump out because you would jump off the edge. Here, I got you. Here. Pills. Medkit?
Your
You
shit,
want?
man.
God, my name. You flame.
They're fighting, Loki.
I got my ult. They're flying. What the fuck? Oh,
yeah, we can rip them. We can rip them. Just all right there.
Yeah, I
They
think
should start running towards them.
I can't go that far. What are you smoking, dude?
What's that? 71 meters?
Just traded damage.
Ashe ult only goes 60, man.
Oh, it is?
Ow, dude.
Oh, I cracked one. On white.
But
We should fuck him.
yeah, as soon as
I'm scanning for you. I'm flying on them.
I'm coming.
I'm waiting.
You can't go up. They're not there anymore. They closed the door too.
This ult is so bad, dude. They're nading the fucking door.
Yeah, they're over here on my side. Over here.
I tethered the Valk.
Valk, right?
Shit.
I'm going up. I got the head glitch on them.
What is
11 flash and Valk. Oh, Valgus literally one, dude.
86 headshot, white armor on one.
Knocked. All done.
All that for that.
Gang. Nice.
Not northwest. Coming up here, look. They're going double doors. Full team holding hands. Oh, fighting.
I'm pushing big time.
Open that shit, baby.
Nate, bro!
90 on one guy. Oh my god. I gotta find more about it.
Where the fuck are they?
On the cell.
They're all the way down.
Mine.
Oh my god, what the heck? I'm batting. I got all three in front of me. Oh, they know about you, man.
They're on me, they're on me. They know exactly about me. No shot, dude.
No fucking way, bro! No fucking way!
What is that?
No fucking way, dude! No way he throws a random arc and sticks, bro.
Why are you here? I fly into his face.
This is the cringiest shit I've ever seen in my life. He threw a random ass Nate, he didn't know what the fuck he was doing and just sticks me, bro. Yet again, this game benefits dog shit players. Nice. Nice. Fuck, man. Why'd I get stupid, dude? So, Cran? So, Baron? I know stream started randomly.
Nice.
It's just we were in a meeting
my God,
for Sweden,
Shut
and
the fuck up!
now we're here. Exact, thank you so much. Welcome back. Thank you.
Dude,
WRPR
landing there in comp could be fucking nuts if Olympus comes out.
Landing where?
Energy depot.
Why?
I feel like it's just like it's just a crazy place, dude.
I don't think this map will ever be competitive.
Not really. I'm 50-50 on the give you right here because I
Bro,
can.
there's nowhere I can go. There's literally nowhere I can go. This is like a pub lobby, dude. Oh, Gibby on me. Fucking shit on him. His friend is on me and he's got devotion.
Motherfucker holding left click.
He's 1 HP.
Defeated one.
Give me a knock! Hawkins low, Hawkins low. Man, they're both low.
I just heard somebody fly on me.
Yeah, it's Pathfinder, he was low as well. Hawkins dead. They're full dead, all this entire team. I think they are this. Maybe they're
No
not.
way.
I think their Pathfinder is still low. Yeah.
Who's that? Who's that? Who's that?
So many people.
Oh my god, what is happening?
That was the path with devotion. That was Hakis. Holding left click.
We just fucking 3 teams there just died forever and they're -60. Oh my god, dude. I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited to get food, man.
I want food too, man.
Yeah, I got food coming. I got spicy nuggets, chicken tenders,
You're a fat ass.
Pepsi Max. Dude, no, shut up. Come on, man.
Pepsi Max. Super size.
Yeah. a large Pepsi Max, 3 liters.
Super size, Dad.
7 burgers, 4 fries, 8 Cokes, 2-liter Mountain Dew, a shake on the side, and a little sundae. Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah. That's just breakfast.
Same spot, same enemies.
True. Hey, round 2. Round 2, baby.
Round 2. Start. How much RP is now rank 1 Predator? I think about 1 million RP with the way it
160k, I think.
with the way shit's been going, dude. I wouldn't be surprised if they were at 1 million, dude. P20, I'm ready. P20 with a blue line mag. Don't fuck with me, dude. I got it on me, dude. I got it on me.
Crack that guy?
Holy shit, I got a lot of
Show me the enemy, dude. It's over.
same.
That guy had a perp, dude.
No, you don't understand. It's over. I spotted a similar fucking. Yeah, this is kind. This has to be kind, dude. I cracked kind. Yeah, this has to be them, dude.
Stuck him with Arkstar. I stuck Kine. I just killed him.
I got stuck by this fucking Pathfinder. He's cracked.
No
like
way! 9 damage. This guy pushing. Puff coming up here.
Yep. I'm dead, dude. I got nothing. No way he sticks me. I got purple knock. It was kind.
Didn't you team again, dude? Yeah, I stuck Kine, dude.
I'm doing 11 and 9 with PK.
What is this team? There's a Mirage on me, and his entire other team is in hydroponics.
2 games in a row, I'm fucking following Kine and just fucking shooting him in his ass, dude. Dude, I can't, bro. I got stuck 2 games in a row, man.
Bro. Holy shit, dude. Yeah, I stuck fucking Kine, dude. He came in, I just fucking stuck him. Dude, that was pretty good. Alright, I'm gonna land us a new place this game.
Nah, let's go round 3, dude.
We're fine. I know where we can land. Oasis.
I know a spot.
I know a spot, dude. I gotta... Nah, fuck it. I'll just buy shaving cream and shit like that when I get to Sweden. Don't you think that's the best idea?
Do
yeah,
what?
You wanna do it together?
Shave together?
Yeah, no, like
Hey,
go
I'm-
buy
I'm-
together.
I'm talking about my cock, dude. Hey, what are you scaring?
What are you talking about? I'm so confused.
Just saving, dude.
Yeah, I'll shave a day before I go.
Yeah, I just want to be able to shit on there.
My beard grows
Because
fast,
it
but
grows
it's
back
not
fast.
like super fast. Can you stop shooting at me with that? Dude, your aim sucks, bro. If that was me, I'd hit all 4, bitch. Fuck you, bitch.
Oh, that's a cap, dude.
He's not a cap. I would rather be fucking deep into that, guys.
Us.
Us did with my wingman.
They're going down. I'm knocking one of them downstairs, okay? Quote me on it. I'm knocking one. If I don't,
Quoting
I
you.
owe you all 20 bucks.
20? I'll take a 20.
Knocked one.
Fuck, man. He's coming up to you. Fishing.
Down bad, that guy. One.
Yeah, he is. He is. He got 2 jumped down in the tether, dude.
Crack the other one.
I think he's holding me.
No, he's down.
Is he on the roof?
No. What are you doing, Payson?
Panic.
Fuck. Look at this.
I'm excited to see Christopher Sexton. It's gonna be good. Who are you most excited to see?
Sweet. Sweet how?
You guys.
Yeah, I
guys
just said
can-
Christopher Sexton.
Is
I
that
haven't seen-
is that sweet?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
his full name.
Chris. I haven't seen Chris. Chris? I call him Chris. I haven't seen Sweet in Poland. Like I've seen him, but I haven't spoke to him in Poland.
Yeah,
bro.
exactly.
Yeah, I didn't see him at all. I don't
Yeah, we
even
talked
know.
about it yesterday. Me and Sweet.
Oh yeah, Jen. I want to see Jen. Like Jen is like.
Bartan.
Jen has
Sir.
never been to a land. It's gonna be first landed. It's
I
crazy.
wanna hold the controller once in my life.
Dude, I wanna say it's
That's
crazy
insane.
how us like not having lands for 2 years was kind of a good thing because we got to meet everyone. People dying right here, dude. Like we got to meet
Right here.
everyone, and now we have a lot more friends when we go land.
More
Yeah, you see them
connections.
on the balcony.
That's fucking.
What is that?
I don't know.
He fucking loba queued away, dude.
Fuck him. Go after
Right
him.
here. What the fuck is he
Okay.
doing? Ranchies.
Nice, good shit.
Aimbotting
Empire
up there?
Ranches! My favorite Apex Legends character.
Well, he has teammates. I just don't know where.
I'm coming.
No way. Eye scanning.
This reminds me of something. You
What?
don't like Wraith players, huh?
No.
I wonder if Jen's gonna like how Jen's gonna play him, man. Obviously, he's gonna be good, but
I think he's gonna fuck.
wonder.
The thing is, something that would fuck me up if I was them. I think I'd be too used to playing on
High ping, yeah.
300 ping
Yeah, and then you just go low ping.
because
also.
you gotta track a little bit ahead
Different,
on high ping than you do on like low ping, you know?
Don't worry, he's got aim assist. It will calculate
true.
in the human error.
That's okay.
He's a demon, bro. It's gonna be 10 times better.
Yeah.
All I know is I still remember to this day how Poland felt, and if it's gonna feel any close to that, bro, holy shit, the wingman's gonna be bussing online.
I'm bubble fighting. I'm only bubble fighting. control
Bubble
team,
fights
dude.
are going to be literally perfect. Like you won't ever get hit around the wall, well, unless
Yeah.
it's a really bad tick rate.
The guy's low. Just saying.
Right here,
Yeah, yeah.
I think he took the banner, right?
20 on him, blue.
Dead.
I'm gonna warm up my rampage, dude.
Hey, nice.
That gun's gonna fuck in the land.
Honestly, 301 is gonna be the strongest weapon online.
Yeah,
And
sure.
flatline
Yeah,
as well.
301's crazy.
Flatline
R9.
for sure.
But
301
this
is
whole
gonna like literally stick to people. Cause I still remember this day, like everyone that played R9 switched to 301 online. Cause it was just fucking everything.
Yeah.
The register is so good because like you don't even understand when you're shooting at 301, you get a lot of Norex that you don't even realize that you get. On land, those Norex are not gonna happen. You're just gonna be like fucking death. I can only imagine how
Devotion
Flatline is gonna
time.
feel.
Flatline, yeah, true.
Devotion
Fracture
was
also.
meta in Poland. But back then
Oh,
Devotion
no,
was
dude.
so OP that you didn't need turbo. Like the Devotion was so strong that you just don't use turbo and it fucking
I'm actually picking on.
goes crazy. That's before they nerfed it. They actually let Devotion be OP for a lot of seasons.
Devotion has always been strong though. It's never not been strong. People just didn't pick it up.
Yeah, but they nerfed it now so that if you don't have turbo, it's a lot weaker than what it used to be. It used to be fucking
Oh yeah.
stupid, dude.
Yeah.
Like I remember IPN using a Devotion. He never had a turbo, but he was fucking killing everyone.
Yeah. But it's also different if you play Pathfinder. Pathfinder Devo was fucking nuts. Because you can charge that bitch up while you're queuing in the air.
Yeah.
And that's what IPN did a lot.
I think the
that.
craziest meta was Pathfinder Longbow to me.
Oh yeah.
Fucking fly up somewhere. Boom, boom. Got one. Boom, boom, got another
Yeah.
one. Hey,
60, I'm putting TB down.
Gibby ulted us. That shit is ass. That Gibby's own controller. Confirm controller. How did I?
Oh, the Pathfinder goes through with one shot. I'm ripping him, fuck it.
Gibby almost cracked. Hit him 70 purple.
Oh, I actually threw him into my portal.
Whoa! Massive lag. What the fuck? Almost died for
Yeah, same.
Getting tethered from Narnia. I tethered the Gibby. On my tether, Manda.
Dude.
No, I hate my life. I hate my life. I fucking hate myself with an arc. I took the point. He took the point back. The other guy. This guy.
Hit him once. Gibby cracked.
Hey,
What the
3
fuck
minutes.
is happening? Not free. Yet.
Yeah, you can.
Now free.
Do it, do it.
Fucking yeah.
What the fuck is happening, dude?
Hey, round 2, boys. I'm going through.
They're leaving. They left. Oh no, they got thirded.
Yeah.
Right here. The bins. He's fucking teleporting.
Southeast.
We should fight. No, they're far, right?
I'm fighting.
How far are they, Tashi?
The far southeast,
Okay, okay. Careful, man. The Pathfinder is on 500.
I know.
Thing. He's teleporting. Right here.
He finish move this guy. Inside.
Coming.
100. Here.
My arc.
Cracked
Dude,
him.
that
This
ass
guy
is
does not
fucking
miss.
mega
He
lagging.
does not miss.
He's mega lagging.
He insta-headed me.
He's on high ping, by the way.
Knock that guy?
Shit.
Where's he on the roof? Or?
He's in Mr. T.
They fall off.
Fell off.
There was a Pathfinder here. What the fuck is happening? Someone's racing here?
Nice.
I don't know what's going on anymore. There were so many people. There's no one.
Oh, I think they fucking rested their teammate, maybe.
The guy's name was so sus. It's
Yeah,
fine.
the FQXJ.
Here, on me.
Let's go.
Yep,
Hit
you
head.
have ult.
111 on raid. 111 on raid. Yeah, fuck. Suck it if I'm letting you do that. Holy shit. Oh, you took it out.
Wait, one shot.
111. I don't know who that character is. Bangalore.
Fuck you.
Sorry, I had a moment.
Fuck. He's
They're
upstairs.
resing, they're resing.
Three stage, one knock.
Bangalore flash. I can't see shit. I can't see shit. I don't know where I am. Love that for me. Love that for me. Where am I? Love that.
This guy's pissed. I 2-pumped him.
Why is the Bangalore smoke so OP, man?
99, 102.
I genuinely
Nice.
couldn't see where I was, dude. What is that shit, man? Dude, this next Evo is at 0, bro. What?
Yeah,
I'm on
damage.
purple. It's at 0.
You didn't know that?
What is that shit?
Let me tell you something. You know you don't. If you do 11 damage, maybe your shot is doing 10.5. You know that, right? That's how they made this game.
Cringe. Why would
It's
they
not
make
straight
it
up
like
11 damage. It's
Why?
like 11 point something.
But why would they make it like that?
Because the characters have like you know, like some characters take a little bit less and shit. You know,
You really explained that really well, man. Thank you.
like Gibby and shit.
You shit on 2 people, Mandy.
Okay, what was that? How did I put my portal right there? What the fuck?
Tethered him. And arced him.
Oh, that's perfect. I fucked them both, yeah.
Great crack.
I just had a hunch, dude.
Just a hunch.
Yeah.
I'm good, Emily. How are you? Just a hunch. Oh, a whole team rolling up on me here.
I'll come back. I see
Blue on
them.
Ash, purple on Blood on. They're pushing straight at me.
Oh, you got crab. Let's go.
Dude,
Ash crack.
What's he doing?
no!
45 purple on this here.
No!
99 flash! 99 flash! What the fuck?
Dude, I'm trying. I'm healing.
He died!
No, he pushed. Where's the audio on the fucking ult push? On me session. Last guy. Where's the audio on him taking the port, bro? What is that shit?
Nice, Mr. T. You got this, Mr. T.
He's really bad. He's diamond.
Yeah, he's really
Take his
fucking
head off.
master. If you lose this, you're even worse.
You're probably diamond 2 if you lose this.
Just, you know, I don't have a lot of time on my banner also. So.
Who asked?
No, man.
What is he doing?
He's right here, he's right here. Right there, Mr. T. You pop the bat? Now? Right there.
No way. No way.
Plug me right there, dude. I'll punch him up. He's resin.
I can't do it.
What do you mean you can't do it?
Just plug me. It's a diamond player. I'll punch him out. Just scrape him once. I got you.
I wanted to get you too, man, but you're right there.
Yeah, I have a Moby. It doesn't matter.
Scrape him once, dude. Did
Come
we
on,
finish
Taiki,
one of them? Did we finish one of them? Pushing
No.
you. Oh wait,
You're
he
the
rests
Mr.
both.
T.
Oh,
You're
this
the
is not
Mr.
good.
T. Come on.
Let me get roof here.
Fuck! I didn't make it. He got his ass.
One, yeah.
They rest him, I think.
They're resting right now.
Don't worry, I'll save the day, man. 100 on his bloodhound. Oh, the bullets on Big's not reloaded.
I killed one.
69 and 11. We getting turret. I had cracked into Sheen, please. The other guy, Crypto here, different team. The other guy's self-res. Are you fucking kidding me? Valkyrie, please! You can't make it up. You can't make this shit up. He's self-res next to a guy.
No, man. What is that clinging twice the Kraber? Twice.
This Bloodhound self-res next to a full team.
You got this, Hakim.
Yeah.
I believe in you.
Yeah, you got it.
Damn.
No way they let this Bloodhound self-res.
No way I hit the guy for a 99 flesh. What is that? When he peeks me, I hit him for a full pump PK for 99.
99, that's why Master's better.
This game without food is killing me, man. I'm dying to this game one day.
I hit this game one day. The food is here, he can't find it.
I clinged Kraber twice. Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh shit, man. I did. I think. Wait, tomorrow is new split. How much RP am I at? 18.6. I think I can do this, man. Like, how much do I need? 22.5.
Some people get no more.
Isn't 41k?
Even if you win every game, Upguy, you won't make it.
Nah, dude. I think I can do 22,000 RP in a day.
Damn, first he doesn't believe in his own skills and Kraber shots, and then doesn't believe in our power.
Yeah,
He
I
thinks I can't get
qualifying my
that's
eagles
crazy.
up.
Dude, what is
Then
up
you
with a
go
whole
down.
fucking team landing on my ass? All three on the same fucking door. Like, you can't make this shit up. I don't know how
Hello.
done.
Yeah, he's calling me right now. I was about to say it. Alright, you're back. Hi?
You're leaving the battlefield? I have an RE, bro. What is this piece of shit?
Come back in the enemies.
Yeah, let me get a gun. Alright, I found some useful fucking shit. Finally.
Running to Mandy. One guy.
Oh, fuck him. You're gonna die. He's on the bench, he's on the bench, on the bench.
That's a different dude.
I'm above, give me a sec. No way I'm getting beamed in my side, bro. 88 on the different dude. Drop it away, pussy. There's a purple armor below. Did
Yeah,
you
there
swap
is.
that?
Yeah, I'm dropping blue here.
Where?
It's actually gone.
I'm gonna bat this. There's a white armor for you here, full HP.
I don't have light anymore.
I have a little bit I can give you. That's all I can give you. I have 40 now.
Shoot, shoot. It's fine. 2 max.
Guy here, he got cracked. Yash. Yash. Ash is flash 30. Nice.
Full healing.
Oh no, there's a whole team rolling up on our left, man.
Oh shit.
I'm fucking dead with it. How is Manda still alive in between all of this?
I don't know.
I need to go loot something with them fucking far. Oh, Octane on my left here. I think he's gonna go res his teammates or some shit. Yeah, that was smart for me. Using my only light. That was really smart. I'm moving here, Tashin. You're on you.
Mandy, I can pick you up with car.
Mine is not here, man.
What's up? We put me on for what?
Somehow you're
Stay there, I'm
alive.
coming.
Oh yeah.
No.
You put me off.
He was alive.
How would they know?
He's cheating.
A full 3-man just walked over to me.
He waited for you to come back just to kill you. Did.
This guy is so sus.
There's a wingman here, Tashin.
Damn.
You need the wingman?
Yeah, I'm away.
I drop you a red dot on it as well. And there's a PK as well. Guess we go get his banner now.
Yeah. I boost, come, fuck it. Get in. Oh,
Oh, go!
there's a team up here also.
Really? I got him here, Oh, they're fighting, that's good. The other team is taking the zip on him, I think. Chat, stop spamming SCARZ driving Omega lol, it's not funny. We lost the whole fucking game over that.
Yeah. I survived that shit though. And then we get ratted by rats. Literally, the name is rats.
Blue armor here.
Tragic.
Blue
they
armor
make it, by the way?
Manda, you're muted, Manda. No, they didn't make it.
We'll be surprised.
I'm here.
Okay.
On me?
On top of you, what?
Here.
I'm dropping you 4 cells here, Manda. That's the fucking Ash I already knocked before. I fucking shit on him.
I'm fucked.
Where can we even go? I gotta get to Taishin somehow.
We're
I'm just running.
Can you Valkyrie to us, Taishin? Yeah, Valkyrie.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, fuck it, just do that. I'm gonna help
Do you have
Manda.
medkit?
Nope, I have no meds at all, like, for flash.
Oh, they have a
No,
charge
so-
rifle, this team.
What's with these guys fucking looking at me no matter where I'm going? This
Is
guy
that
up
also-
here.
Aren't those the guys that fucking found you and killed you?
I think so, yeah.
I'm holding from the zone, man. I don't have
These
meds.
pussies, man. One
They're not
dropped
very
off. Crypto dropped off.
Yeah.
Keep you ulted us.
That's pretty good, yeah.
That was great. Dude.
They're walking over here in front of me.
So sick. I'm running low on light, boys.
Yeah, we killed these guys.
What the fuck? A whole team behind me.
Yeah, they have charge rifle. We should dip.
Yeah, I'm dipping. I'm running into the compound next to us here. They're running up here.
Oh, fucking.
That's the building.
Oh, he's already out the building. I'm batting.
M6 headshot on the guy in the building.
I have no flash heals, bro. We gotta get to the building, Fishing.
Back.
There's a mastiff here.
You have syringes?
I'm coming
Nope,
to you guys.
I'm nothing.
I'm to you guys. Can you guys open
Come.
the door?
Yeah.
He's fucking sitting out there.
Burning two. I hit 2 people on top of my arc.
There's a Bangalore cracked right in front of us. She went below. We should drop on him, maybe.
Nothing.
Selling and syringing.
Here. On the back door.
I'm ready to go ham. Like, I got a Devo.
Man, it's fucking good. I'm climbing up. Ready?
No.
I'm up. They're below. Ash ulted out.
Keep it up. 45 on Ash.
25 flash.
GB late. GB late.
Keep
GB late.
last guy. 38.
40, 50, 70.
Dead.
Go.
They're resing. Got one.
Give me flash. Give it down.
Last guy on me. Bangalore.
Hit him only 40. Hit him only 40. I gotta pop a bat. I gotta pop a bat.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'm resing
Hey.
now.
I body headshot him. Fuck you, motherfucker.
Dude, my inventory. No, I'm dead. No, dude.
Zip line.
My inventory's empty, bro.
I have 1 cell in my inf.
What's up, Bobo?
Oh yeah, that's so free.
Yeah.
Open our boxes to see how empty they are.
Look at my box.
Probably got nothing in this bitches, dude. What about this box?
Right, those are just.
Ooh, juice,
You
dude.
should plug us so we can fucking.
Has
just
0 cells. I have 0 cells, 0 bats, 0 medikits, I have 4 syringes.
Nice.
Phoenix? R9. I'll drop the wingman for one of you guys.
RP.
Sure.
I fly into my body. Right away.
We gotta get in, I guess. Holy shit, dude.
Oh, they're right on my body. I'm coming.
Oh no, dude. They're pushing me hard, man. Mande!
Yeah, they're gonna show my new team.
Perfect.
I'm fucking killing these guys. Fucking is shooting at him.
My missiles coming in.
I'm shooting new
Yeah,
team. I'm
they're
shooting
all
new
dead.
team. I'm shooting new
Yeah.
team. They're porting in or some shit. Oh, crack this guy. He went back.
Oh, you took it.
Dude, I need to heal. 90 on 1, dude. I need to get in the zone. I have no meds.
I want to get their meds though.
Yeah, but how am I gonna fight without 30 health?
I'm getting it. I'm getting meds. Cross.
the most poverty game I've ever been part of.
Dude, that is fucking perfect.
Machine Sentinel here.
I got Phoenix hits. I got
They,
Phoenix
they
hits
took
here.
it below us. They took it below us. The port.
Drop my Phoenix here. Drop my Phoenix hit right here.
Got it. They're right below us. I think they Ash ulted left. They're gonna go from left side. They're in this pocket right here.
Let's fuck him. We kill him.
No, they're in front of us, I think. Yeah, they're in front of us. 41 red on the Pathfinder.
They're still out there, yeah.
They're in the pocket. Fuck, let me get a Mozambique real quick.
I'm just staying here, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Getting some nades and stuff. They're heat shielding?
You coming?
100. Dead. 100.
71, 1 HP Pathfinder. Pathfinder is low.
You guys get that easy.
I'm coming in.
I'm blocking him. I'm blocking him. He's sitting at top himself.
Dead,
right
dead,
here.
dead.
Nice knock. Let's go here. Let's go here.
Dead.
Nice. Fuck this guys. Ego. Fucking easy clap. So bad. How did they lose that?
Oh, fucking
God, how stacked are you, bro?
behind us. They got that team just got fucking 30 at us. They shot at us.
Fuck him.
I took this guy's entire identity. I'm gonna fuck. He's got no bat.
Go zone, boys. Go zone.
I have 5 syringes, dude.
I have 3.
I have vault code, by the way.
Here, I dropped you 2 syringes, man.
We just Valkyrie in actually.
Let's go. Holy shit, man. Actual trash cans.
I'm pumping 1 syringe and I'm coming. There.
What's up,
Gripping. Nice. Big time.
RPI take the zone damage.
No. Let's hold them from here. Oh shit, there's a team here. Oh, there's 2
Go here.
teams. They're fighting each other. Go on the roof. Oh, he patted on us.
Got 1.
2 dead, 2 dead.
No, they're all dead. All dead. I killed them all.
Ah! I got
Holy
Krabers in
shit.
the back.
I have gold
What?
backpack. I have gold backpack. Yeah, get in.
Oh, I got crabbed. That's why.
Yeah, I got Krabers as well.
It's fine. I can stick you soon.
They're fighting away from us. We're good, we're good, we're good. This is free us. Oh no, on top of me, on the mini roof, on top of me. He's coming in. He's getting Kraber. What is he doing?
I didn't hit a single time. I hit him like 50 only.
I need to pop this Medi. You need a Medi, Mandy?
No, I'm good.
On your door.
They might jump here.
They want to come in.
Window.
So bad.
Nice. Pathfinder's
one.
purple.
Right 1.
Why are you popping a battery? What do you...
What do you
Hello?
think? What do you think this is? They're just ripping a whole bat in their heads.
Hello? How are you in Masters?
Oh, he's like, yeah, no shot they're gonna hit these at all. I'm gonna get this off and I'll just queue out.
There's still a Kraber in the game.
Yeah, go fuck them.
How dare they shoot us in the back while
I
we're
was like,
fighting
how did I lose all my HP right there?
yeah, I fucking lost all of mine as well.
I actually dropped all my shotgun ammo, by the way. That's pretty cool.
Sucks to suck. There's shotgun ammo right here.
I'll find some right here. What the fuck? Doesn't play shotgun.
What? I just pinged you some.
Yeah, but like the guy I looted before.
They're hiding as 3-man, bro. What is this?
All the way there, dude.
I'm fucking ready. We fuck these rolls. Fuck these rolls.
Headshot 86 on his teammate. Kraber guy hit 80. I mean, they're in there, right? Bangalore
Oh,
is
dude, I
very
hit him
bad.
one time.
I tethered one on the roof. Front door.
Bangalore me.
fatty. He's dead.
He's
Out
out
the
here,
door.
he's out here. Hey. He dropped it. He dropped the Kraber. That guy's pissed. I stuck him 2 times with an R-Star.
The Kraber guy?
Yeah.
No, the other guy.
There's
No,
a jump
you-
pad here.
The Kraber guy is
drop
the
it.
one you stuck.
No.
Can you unping the fucking shotgun
Oh,
ammo?
what? No.
Please unping it. They're literally on top of it.
Oh. He dropped his armor.
I got this. I got kidnapped.
I can kidnap you.
You got us good.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good kidnap.
You got us good there.
Oh my god. I stuck that guy 2 times with arc. Fuck, he was mad, dude.
He got us good, man. He got us good. Easy. Wow, we almost spread, dude. Almost spread. You think you can get pred, man? How close are you?
I'm like 800 points away, I think. I could get pred if I wanted to, but I don't care enough. Like I said yesterday, that I'd rather have someone maybe get like, just like barely make it to bread and then keep it and be happy about it than me having
No,
it
me
because
too.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I just don't care. All I care about is competing. Honestly, I don't give a fuck about rank. Not, at least not in its current state. It's not at a point where anyone should give a fuck about it. Prima. No.
Here we go. Ready up.
Let's go. 42k for the border of there's no. Shh. Oh no, this guy got a fucking mode on. Oh no. What am I gonna do? Need help. I got sanded by a P20 with guys. I don't know what to do. Too many of them.
Shoot.
This guy's another P20 now. It's impossible.
2 teams, Mandy.
No.
This guy's level 89. He's in Masters. How are you here?
My building is free if you need cover.
I fucked up. Oh, I love that weapon. Damn. That's with the hammer just instant rolls me. Raise this controller, by the way. And he has a Havoc, so don't get in range.
Yeah. Good call.
I got you.
The camping banners. Bitches. You have 20 seconds. Just leave, motherfucker! No, why do I have a bow?
He's got him, all of them.
Oh. How much HP? He's one!
At this point, with this rank system, they need to completely reset rank. Like, everyone to 0 RP. They have to. This is unbelievable.
It's good for us, we have insecures and split. That's
yeah,
good.
but we play pubs, you know, and we don't play rank. We're playing glorified pubs with people who shouldn't even be in Master. Like, yesterday I was fighting people who should have genuinely been in Plat 2. Like, they were that bad.
It is what it is.
Dude. Someone's making a SCARZ logo in Arshad's place.
There's no way they can manage. That shit's gonna get fucking ripped.
What? They wrote SCARZ, Mandy, and RPR.
Really?
They're writing right now, yeah.
Show me. Almost 7k people in Master now. James, I don't know what you're
So
smoking.
where can I see that?
There's like 100k people in Master.
Oh.
You have a link for that
What
or
is
what?
that picture?
Boom. Yeah, I'll send a link.
For what is that shit?
No, Meatman, he's at 8%.
It's a thing Reddit does every single year.
Ah.
Every 5th year, I mean. It's the last day today. Bro, wrong
They're
color?
writing it below
The Apex logo.
below the Apex logo, yeah. Someone wrote Oraxa above. A Sea of Thieves.
It's crazy.
Is that tea for me, dude?
Yeah, I think so.
Please.
Look at this. Look at how much people have made.
That's crazy.
Are
That's
they gonna
just
make it
cool.
even bigger? The scale?
It's 1 million dots.
Yeah, pixels. Are they gonna make it even bigger?
I probably could.
Wait, this. How long does this last? The R place?
Today is the last day.
Yeah, but how long does it usually last? Like overall?
3 days. It's crazy.
And it's only every fucking 5 years.
Yeah. Last time was 2017.
Why didn't they not do it more often?
Because it's like a special event.
Special.
I can't find it now. Where the fuck's the Apex logo there? The real question is, how does a Raxa have such a big spot, dude?
And
How do you get a big spot?
Every 6 minutes,
You jump,
sixth minute
Bender.
you can put Every 6th minute you can put 1 pixel, Taikin.
Ah.
And then you just get a bunch of people to put pixel for you.
Cool, then.
it can be bought as far as I know.
Yeah.
And put up many.
People bought it. Yeah, I got it here.
I saw Osmond delete NFTs like completely.
Yeah.
In like a second.
Dude, you can get NFT sneakers. You don't have to buy the sneaker, just the NFT of it, and you have it.
No.
I didn't know.
It's big, that stuff. So much scammers going on. Also,
Well,
it's insane.
Incredible.
People are
amount
getting
of
scammed fucking all the time.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
It's funny how Fortnite kids are the ones scamming this. I have a fucking alternator. I can't do this.
I did 130 damage.
I hate this place.
Oh no, another Bloodhound scan.
They're playing 2 scan characters.
We just have to go full on. I don't know. I think you queue in and we go.
I'm just gonna go for a massive hit here. Oh shit.
I can go other side.
Just wait, just wait.
They'll
I'm
know
gonna
you're
hit somebody.
They're playing Seer, they'll know. Flash
Let me
him,
hit it with the sentinel real quick. Take time.
I'm gonna crack the fucking... You guys have syringes? No, I have syringes. No.
Yeah.
Germany.
Behind me?
Is that a new team
Yeah,
or?
push this guy. He's alone. He's
I'm
alone.
coming,
This
I'm
guy's
coming,
alone.
I'm coming. He ran away, didn't he?
He ran away, yeah.
Yes, he did.
I did fucking 70 on 3 of them. I'm going down, I'm going down.
Jump out the window, please. Oh, this guy might kill me. Yeah, he jumped after me. Oh, man. He's doing a finisher, you can kill him.
Oh no, I just threw away.
I went in there.
Timing.
How did not, dude? How did they have so many heals? We looted more than them.
We didn't dilute it up in middle.
Go other side, man. Go east.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Phoenix right here. We got it.
I got hide.
Don't worry about it, RPR. We're gonna be happy now. Lock one. I'm fucking this guy under, eh?
On my way, on my way.
There's so many fucking
Behind
people
you, behind
around
you.
me. Yeah, I know. I need to get RPR. I ain't going without.
Yeah.
Oh, you got him?
I got a
You knocked
path.
one? Nice,
Flood
nice,
me
nice.
right there, let's go.
Yeah, I am.
Finish this guy.
And you got loot right here. GG.
Damn, that guy was persistent.
Yeah.
TTV is... BTV is a third party thing, and I don't know.
Dude, they're done writing Mandy now. So now we're missing Taishin. So they're gonna write Taishin now.
Hey, my boys.
Yeah.
The Shin, the longest one, dude.
Wait, there's the T actually. It's for me.
That one's gonna take a minute to write the Shin.
Oh my god, it's so cool! Guys, write Taishin. It's gonna go down in history, dude.
Take a screenshot, dude.
Hey.
Yeah,
With that T.
someone else took a screenshot with Mandy.
Nice. Where are these guys, dude? Are they all on you, Tishin?
One knock. See you,
Nice.
last guy.
I'm true, man. Nice. See, the bow is fucking king, dude.
Fucking broke it.
Nice. Oh, more people.
Left us.
Here. Here.
There's so many arrows here, Taishin. Also here on me.
Yeah, enemy there. My ping. Pathfinder.
Yeah. Whole team in the left building as well.
60, 120 on this guy. Pathfinder.
Oh, he's jumped in the other team. I think. Maybe not.
He's in the solo building.
He's in my building?
No,
There's
no, no.
three- No, they're going up now. I can TPS on the little window. In 20%.
Yeah.
20%. And he's already there.
Can't.
Cringe.
Do I take this window on the left side? Or go up here left?
You could maybe. Oh, there's two teams up there. Or just a solo?
Can't fly up.
I can
going
TPS
up, I'm going
on this window here, man, if you want.
I'm up. I'm gonna look down. Wait, just give me 2 seconds.
People here walking in. New team from below you, man.
Yeah, it's fine, it's fine.
Yeah, there's a whole new team here.
Yeah, I don't care.
Oh, I care, because I'm about to fucking die.
Knock one.
I'm here, man. Where are they?
Dude, fucking, there one jumped down on Tashin and one TP'd out.
There's still people here.
I knocked the guy below.
What?
There's one more guy here.
Oh my god.
I'm tethering him.
Yeah, easy. I fucking rolled that guy. Holy shit.
There's a whole new team, by the way.
I knocked one.
Nice.
What is happening, dude? What the hell is happening? Here, they're resing. I'm fucking reloading. He didn't res. I stopped it. Raid's
Jump
fucking
down,
one. Raid's one. Outside and inside.
I'm fucking raised right now.
That's not Raid, that's Bella. Oh, you are. Shit, why do I keep thinking you're Monday? You're Tashin.
Nope. Me?
I keep thinking Manda's
You think I'm
Tashin.
Tashin? Oh. It's really like race, dude. And Tashin's playing bow right now, I think.
Yeah, it's fucking confusing as shit, man.
Yeah, I was hitting. It was nice.
Alright, wait. I'm gonna put the thing down. People said they're almost done with riding Tashin.
400 light, bro. This guy.
Hey,
I see.
hey.
I need to see. Someone link it.
Yo, it's almost done. Pog.
Oh my god. Hey, guys.
Hi, she. There's a little bit there.
There. I put a dark red for you.
Hey, my man.
Oh, it's almost done.
Oh, we're removing the yellow parts and do it black too?
Yeah.
Hey, let's go. That's gonna look good as fuck. And we're in the middle too, bro. Pog.
Someone should take a screenshot of it when it's fully done.
I am. One of my friends gonna do it. Someone from chat's gonna do it 100% if we don't do it.
Yeah, screenshot that. I'm gonna hang it on my wall.
That's nice. That's wholesome. That makes me happy, dude.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you. Hulk champion.
It'd be crazy if we got like the whole SCARZ logo on that, but that would take fucking a lot.
Yeah.
SCARZ logo is pretty complicated as well.
Oh my
SCARZ
god.
LNT, shut the fuck up.
Dude, we're almost done. Guys, come on. I need to see this. Yeah, put the black bar around here.
Yeah, do the background black. Yeah. Why are we next to an ass?
That's what's it called?
Diva,
That's
right?
fucking Widowmaker's ass.
A Widowmaker?
Yeah.
That's Overwatch community, right?
Yeah. Hey guys, come on.
Oh, it's almost done.
Just a little bit more
Let's
black. Take that
We're
orange shit out.
capturing.
We're almost done with the end.
Yeah, black it out over there.
Oh my god, guys, come on.
Yeah,
Put
yeah.
out, like,
Black
with
it
10
out.
more
Make the line.
pixels.
There's a line missing out. Yeah. That one. Yeah.
Yeah, we got like 6, 7
We're
more
almost done.
pixels.
We're almost done. Look, we're like 8 pixels or something.
2, 1
Hey!
pixel.
No,
Hey!
don't fuck up the scar. Don't fuck up the logo here. Someone fucked up the logo.
No, fix the logo, guys. 1 dot,
Fix
1
the-
pixel.
fix-
Oh, they're
No,
fucking it
stop
up
fucking
completely.
the logo up.
There's
No,
one
stop fucking our
point.
shit up.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Hey!
Ah, these
One more
motherfuckers,
pixel,
dude.
1 more pixel.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's
There we
clean.
go, it's
Yeah,
finished.
let's go.
Hey, Polgers. Dude, looks clean, dude. In
That's
the
nice.
middle. Let's go.
That's one for Twitter, dude.
That's nice. That's nice. We did something on RSS Place, dude.
Hey, we made our
We
fucking.
have the best community ever, bro.
That's
Hey,
awesome.
oh, don't remove my
Hi,
E.
honey.
Please.
You managed to get the screenshot?
I got it on stream. You see everything on stream.
Surely someone got a screenshot, right, chat? An actual screenshot?
Yeah. 100%. They made a Mogus from my A.
Among Us. Among Us.
Well,
I'm picking that shit up.
yeah, we have double vault. Let's go.
Oh. I can't wait to eat, man.
Same, I'm fucking starved.
Same, dude.
I'm not even.
I already ate 4 chicken tenders, but I need 9
always
nuggets.
I'm on autopilot, bro. I'm not even thinking about this fucking game, dude. I'm just fucking food in my head right now. Just screenshot in chat in your Discord. Let's go.
Awesome.
Pog. Nice. It's nice.
Oh my god.
cool,
One of
bro, that's
my VIPs got a crazy screenshot, dude. It looks so fucking clean, dude. Hey, that's nice.
We're gonna come from here, by the way.
I need that picture. I'm gonna hang it on my wall.
Just stand the high ground. You can't make it up. Oh my god, I fell down. Oh, I didn't.
41 purple on Ash. He's running out, running out. What, really fucking low, this guy? Holy shit, he's got Spitfire just holding left click, man. Selfless.
I'll kill the. Yeah, I got him. They got like 8 self-res, dude.
Yeah.
This guy was walking around with alt cells playing Rampart.
My
Come on,
man.
Look at
Come
this
on.
guy. He's got 301 in this and he's just spraying at me, dude, with his thing. Fighting over
Where are
there.
they? Yeah.
Pop multi-cell.
On the left.
In the zone holding us. Wanna kill them instead?
No, there's a guy right here.
Yeah, pump.
Don't understand you just did all that.
We're shitting him.
You don't have
Yeah, I think it's,
should.
I think it's over now. I think the void is taking over. Yeah. I don't know if you guys know the meaning behind all the RSS play stuff.
No?
Like,
don't know.
there's like, do you have him up for like 2 or 3 days or 4 days? And then like this big Reddit group called The Void comes and takes over and just blacks out the entire thing.
Cool.
And they come like and then fucking remove all the art and stuff. And then
I
like,
distract them, okay? I'm gonna take roof, yeah? This roof.
Yeah, do it. 3 reds, by the way. Oh, they're panning you.
Dude, it's so low.
No, I knock on. We gotta go.
On the door, last guy.
Fuck, I'm tanking so hard, man. The fucking aim punch is ridiculous. Yeah, he's really low, by the way, the Octane. I can self-res if you cover me. I'll go back self-res.
Yeah, do it.
Just trying to get away from the door. Oh, that's a solo. That's a solo or some shit. Yeah, he's rushing at you like crazy. 100% has to be a solo or some shit.
Fuck you, dude.
No way.
Dude, fucking... Why is aim punch so strong, dude?
What if that's a fucking rat, dude? He just body headshots me instantly, dude.
Let's see if he wins this.
I left. Okay. That was cringe. How much fucking aim punch I got there? I'm so fucking hungry, man.
Oh, this fight's gonna take 15 minutes.
Who would have thought he was a control player, dude? Who would have thought, dude? Not me.
Dude, I just zoomed out. That shit is big.
That's massive.
Oh my god, I just lost where we are, man.
I have the picture. I'll send to you guys. Fuck it, I don't want to watch this guy. This is the high quality picture. Boom.
Are you allowed to buy more than 1 pixel as one man?
Oh yeah, every 6th minute it resets, so you can put another one.
Alright.
You need to see the void, dude. You need to see like what like it looks fucking crazy, dude. What's the Reddit thing?
Right.
Look at Tashin, are you looking?
Yeah. Where? On your stream?
Dude, try and look at my stream, dude. Look at this what they made right here. Right here. It is fucking scary, dude.
Holy shit. Looks scary, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
Everyone is talented, man.
Multiple giga chats, dude.
Wait, who started this shit? Did we start this shit? Chat? Our Discord?
No, I don't think so. Someone just started making our shit.
Yeah, my Discord started it.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, Brett posted on Twitter how it started.
It's crazy.
Man,
And
sometimes
some of
I'm
these
surprised.
flags are crazy too.
Sometimes I'm surprised how organized my Discord is. Like looking at me and my stream, and then looking at them, bro. Like how are they disorganized, bro?
That's nuts.
I don't know where the fuck I am half the time. These motherfuckers are taking over our place.
I got grief.
Dude, one already dipped.
I love this.
Duo? That's nice, right?
Yeah.
Put up his ass and you win. So nice. We spelled Mamde first.
hey, here. I got Havoc to back. No, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it to me. No.
Not, Look at him. Oh shit! I can't. He was on a leash.
Yeah.
Apparently they spelled your name wrong first, man. They spelled mom there.
Full team here.
I'm healing. Dude, imagine. Holy shit.
Mom there.
Team below me and team in front of me.
Man, I'm just.
They have. I can't go up here.
Yeah, the team is low below.
Double door, 2 guys.
Yeah, just looking at me.
What is he doing, dude?
I don't think he has the facilities for that big man. If you suck, don't shoot.
Wanna wipe that duo here below me?
They already ran away, I think.
Big Michael just resubscribed for 4 months.
I hit both for 100. Cap.
Michael in for
On
myself.
me.
70.
That is a possibility, yes, man.
I hit 2 for 45.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm hungry.
The only door. Go to Mandy, bro.
Yeah.
That's good, that's good.
45 that one.
Hey, what's up, bitches? Hey, what's up?
What am I doing? Where's the other team? The duo right here, right?
I don't know.
I think they rest him.
There's a Croatian
low.
flag. Give me 40 blue. No, dude, it flipped up then
Nice.
down, dude. That is cringe. On me, Gibby. Why are you running? I don't think he was thinking.
I think he was thinking. But wasn't thinking big, you know?
And he wasn't thinking too well. Should have thought that through.
Full team ziplining on the balcony, left side
I
balcony
see.
from you.
One's already up. Is all 3 already up or what?
I don't know.
I think all 3 are already up. I sit in this corner and hide with an archer man. They're coming, they're coming! No, dude! Why is there another nade being pulled out? I pressed 2 as well, man. What is happening? Oh, man.
81.
On me, Bangalore. He's shooting at my knockdown because he's got no friends. Chasing after you. The 2 of them. 2 of them chasing after you. Another one coming. This guy's really bad this raid. Coming after you. He's rezzing now. Full committing, full committing. Also arcing it. Nice. Last guy Pathfinder on the left door. He has no clue what he's doing.
Wait, how long banner?
Good, you're good, you're good.
You're good, you're good. Third party, I think.
Yeah. Batting.
No, it's a, is it third party? Yeah, it is. It has to be, right? What else would we be shooting at?
I know.
What's up, Besson? Oh, I blocked that door, by the way, sorry.
Yeah. These guys have killed us, or like, fought us like 4 games in a row now. And he's spam finishing me and shit.
Yeah, he's that thing. We can report him if you want.
No, I don't care.
I mean, he's clearly not supposed to be in this rank anyway.
They're gonna chase this. I'm not gonna rest here then. I'm gonna go here. Here, actually, here's better. Insta loot for you guys. Just gonna hold roof and chill.
P20, I'm going crazy. RE, going double crazy right now.
Let's rip it over.
What do you say?
Yeah, I'll top protecting.
Entire room, entire side clean.
Left side, they're fighting. Tajin.
Yo,
I'll get pick you up. Yeah.
gold knocked down.
Well, now we can survive longer.
That's true.
Boost that shit, baby.
What's up, Kaiser? Shit on him. The other guy ran, old pussy.
Little pussy. Shit like that, if I die like that, that would piss me off. Not gonna lie.
I wouldn't be very happy about it, that's for sure. Won't be like, damn.
Two people here.
Okay.
Where we come from. They're going where we come from.
Okay.
40, 90 on Ash. Below you.
Here?
Here,
Salting?
Tashin. Man, 2 guys on me. 3 guys on me. Fucking
on
shit
me.
on Seer.
100 that guy?
Fuck, I didn't swap. There's 2 teams.
90 flash. Wow, that was hacking awesome, dude. You saw that tap scrape jiggling McFiggly did.
Another team in the ship.
not
Another team in the ship.
Movement
Right.
there, dude.
They have a Seer and shit. Not very good.
45. 45 again.
I stuck one. Valkyrie,
see.
2 crack.
Oh, Phoenix. You guys got that. That's coming back soon.
Guys, I gotta show you
Yeah.
my new emotes and you gotta tell me if
Yeah,
it's juice
so-
or not.
Yeah, nice. Please help me.
what
Please help me. Please help me.
Helping,
Please,
helping.
please.
They just died there. Right there, man. Not even a second.
Yeah, Bobby.
Yeah.
Plop it, dude. Shit.
But who was that though?
He sticks 69.
Oh man.
DMs are
He just
ready.
shits
Okay,
on
wait,
rats.
wait. Give me a sec.
Dude, come on.
3 shots here.
Oh no, fuck.
No, dude. Where's the fucking armor?
The aim punch is ridiculous in this game. You can't do anything wrong. Where is my ship?
How are these? Dude, this guy's predator. He's predator.
Where's my ship? Oh wait, food, bear back. I'm back with my phone. The chat. All I'm gonna say, user said that my new emote set is her favorite set that she's in. I'm just saying. And she usually uses Bao's set. It's going to be 30 emotes, 7 new badges, and 4 animated emotes. I don't know if we're going to do any logs.
Back to lobby.
But there's gonna be streams
Hey, big time.
from the bootcamp.
I'm landing platform.
Yeah. You got the shotty? I'm going inside.
Guy has blue armor across.
77 just
46 that guy?
subscribed for 6 months. Mandela
One shoot at Mirage. Above me.
Ping me shotgun ammo.
He's resing on the inside. He's resing a Gibby on the inside here. I got him. Watson. Now what? That Watson.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yusuf, for 6 months. Welcome back.
They're fighting.
Above themselves. Nice.
This is
I'm
kind.
into them.
This has to be kind. Okay, I just did that.
Stormman!
Yeah, that has to be kind, right? Like, it has to be.
This kind, yeah, this kind.
No, nah.
Ping me 6 times scope, please.
I can spot
There's
kind
one. Right here, Tajin.
from Narnia, dude.
Nice, bro. Good memories. I like it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Massive brain.
I love it. When I kiss that brain in Sweden.
Yeah, it's gonna be good, dude.
Get inside his skull and twist his brain.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
70 on Wraith. No shot, he peeked again. This guy. He's still
Here?
behind here. Behind us. It's a Wraith, white armor.
He's inside.
Inside, yeah.
Get out.
Fucked it up.
I'm trying too much.
Hell yeah, brother.
Teammates must be Rift. I'm coming.
I saw one go down the hill here.
Someone rest behind us where we come from. There's a GB on top. Where you killed the Wraith.
Yeah, I see. Crack.
60 flash.
He's solo. 20 flush on him.
Hell yeah, brother. So just get up. I'm playing double card this game. Fuck it. You wanna? I was speaking with Evan yesterday, right?
Evan.
I was like, I was talking with him. You know, like we're playing, and I kind of asked questions about the comp and shit. I got all the intel from him. You know, he was spilling beans all day long.
Oh no, dude, the house gonna be moldy.
Oh my god, dude, I yoinked everything from him, dude. I was like, yeah, so like, where are you guys gonna live, and you know, like what room, you know. I got all the intel, dude.
Motherfucker.
So I'll go there and I'll put fucking stink gas on him.
He has no idea where he's even going, cause like Hal doesn't even know where he's going, bro. Like,
He does. Don't worry about it. Evan is smart, dude. His mega brain, you know.
Sure, dude.
So
last night I went in your stream and I asked about. You asked them if he's gonna boot camp, and he's like, yeah, I don't even know what's going on with that, dude.
No,
I don't even know where we're going.
So I spoke with him. I got all the intel, by the way. Okay. New team.
Yeah, north.
60.
Maybe white.
Oh, 52. Wait. Oh, it's
There's 2 different teams then. 2 different teams. Boys, I'm shooting north. Careful. North is close. There's also fucking southeast everywhere. Get inside.
I'm coming to Mr. T.
Look at this guy. He's foul. 50 purple on her. Tractor. I reload.
So basically, I got all the intel, dude. So I'll be
got
buying.
Oh my door.
You kidding me? We gotta fight the Horizon team. Horizon in 89.
Oh no, shot.
Going up in the air.
I'm pumped bad.
Just be healthy.
I am dying. Because I'm getting triple take by another fucker. People dead there, like a lot of them.
Yeah, they're running out.
Dude, I almost
I
killed
got a
him.
crazy
dude.
idea. Listen to me. Come on my portal, alright?
No, wait, I'm stopping a whole res here.
Then never mind then.
A whole team is trying to res here.
Yeah.
We split as fuck. Is the guy here?
Who the fuck is this guy now?
Holy shit.
Above. Got 2 on me. Got 3 on me. Got 4 on me.
I got hit. You have a battery?
No bats.
Knocked 1.
They're coming. I'm dragging them.
2 dead. There should be another one, the Horizon or some shit. What the fuck is happening?
Oh my god! The amount ska du dem! No, what? How you not get hurted yet? What the fuck is that?
I need a
got
phoenix or something.
I got no phoenix.
Someone rest.
We knocked him.
Was it the Octane again?
Yeah.
Another team on me.
Full team, bro.
Oh, I knocked them all. Come.
Oh, they're all dead or what?
Yeah, I killed all these guys, but there's still a not a Valk. The other guy somewhere.
Yeah, there's people on me.
Wait, I'm taking all the light in here instead.
There's another 2 teams here. What the fuck is going on, dude?
I'm just healing the entire time.
I'm farming, dude. That's all I'm doing.
Up the hill. One up here.
Yeah.
I shit on the Valk, cracked him.
Oh my god. I'm pushing. I got fully stacked cards, both of them. Are they on top of me?
No, Mandy, I don't know.
Yeah, there was a Valk. But there are also 2 teams running here in front of me.
I full stunned one guy on the floor.
What the fuck am I playing? That guy's low, 40 flush.
We're good, I'm going. Nice.
Still behind here.
Go the bat.
He popped the thing right there.
There's another team in there.
Yeah. Are we pushing inside here or what?
Yeah, pushing inside.
Come with me.
Behind me.
That's the duo, that's a duo up the hill. No, it's full team up the hill.
Knocked one. Crack 2.
I'm gonna charge up. A raid cracked on me. I got thirded. This raid is cracked, man. Right here, Tishin. Nice. I got knocked from inside. The whole team left side. Dude, there's so many that I don't even tell you. Good luck, man. I mean, good.
160.
Nothing behind you, rolling out. Behind you.
Holy fuck, dude. How they, dude, the angles they have on me.
I'm gonna shit all of them now.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Sushi. I'm still alive.
I'm inhaling food.
It's fine, it's fine. Ah, come on, dude. Shh. Pussy.
One thing.
If you don't want that, I'll suck your toes. Damn. You don't want your toes sucked? That's crazy.
Maybe he's not into that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Why is this guy chasing me now?
Because he's in red form, probably. Oh, he's blue armor, dude. These guys haven't fought a soul this game. That's the first KP touching. They're gonna chase you till the end of the world, by the way.
You can probably one shoot him.
Just need a good spot.
God damn. At least that.
No way, you actually still behind me. Fucking bitch.
I gotta get water. Good luck.
I've never seen you lose this.
There's a team in front of me, bro. They're chasing the entire map. The
I have a
fuck?
theory. Yeah, I fucking called it. That was their first KP of the game. They were chasing you.
They died for it.
They have 0 KP, and they're 10Ks. This system is fucking dog shit.
Gonna watch this guy if he streams the crypto.
Yeah, I'm gonna end my feud with Raiden.
Yeah.
It's not that much better than this year.
I'm back.
That was hectic.
Oh my god, that was crazy.
I only hear Russian voices. Nice push.
Dude, I'm so happy we got the fucking r/place.
Looks so cool, dude. That's gonna be on my wall right straight away, man.
Just kill motherfuckers.
I'm taking the 50-50 with this guy. I fucking hate you.
500 low on you, man. Blood on dead. 500 is 1 HP here. Dead.
Dude, I love my life.
I have no ammo. Get my shit punched! Holy shit, man!
Holy fuck, dude. Got a fucking R9 off drop, dude.
Oh no, I'm dead, man. Bruh. Come on. 2 are knocked here, man. It's only 1 guy. He wants to res his shitty fucking Pathfinder right here.
Not gonna rest him, don't worry about it.
Shit on by a different team right here. Whole new team here. Oh, 3 of motherfuckers. It's 3 of them, bro.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course you finished me, you little fucking... Yeah, Twitch in your name. What's up, Cover?
Yeah, I'm down here.
You can get it, bitch.
Fuck. Yeah, they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Empty. I wanna stick you here and just hold the other side.
Okay. Run it up, run it up.
Wait. Is that... Where did they go with that?
Shut the fuck up!
Quover thing we're giving tier 1 to Peter Butchins. What the fuck? Peter? Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Send me into battle. Got my sword and my shield. There's a battle on the field.
3 kill here. 2 free kills. They jump balcony. 2 people.
Got find my
I
fucking
don't have
shit.
cells anymore.
I got no ammo.
Are they inside the room here?
I got no
Think so.
ammo. I'm 0-0.
Yeah, they are.
You got any ammo? Heavy light?
No. I have a mag though.
Oh no, John, yeah.
I'm putting in my prowler so I can do 0 damage. Oh, I found 20 bullets.
Just go south. Just go south and loot.
Yeah, I'm not.
I
There's a
deaded
guy on
one
me.
of them. Oh, there's guys on me.
Oh, I can't do that. I can't help you right now.
Come on.
Is he coming for you?
Yeah.
How do you know? How the fuck do you know?
Oh, that was fucking 6 health. Gave me 0.1 health. I'm really trying my hardest here. This guy is so fucking horny for me and no one else, bro. Like, your team's dying, you stupid fucking idiot. Holy shit, you dog shit, man. Your team is literally dying. He's been chasing me for fucking 5 minutes. Look at his teammate dead. Like, you're fucking cringe, lord. You tank it for... No, he's not even tank it. That guy's a fucking...
I think it's kunai, wall jumping, little looking on the bottom and then on the top again. Feeling the mechanics in his fucking hand. Look at him, bro. Paid wannabe, look at him.
That's a plat player right there. It's a fucking plat player. Peace out, Quivered. Yeah, I made fucking reset in rank, bro. Holy shit.
That was a fucking mess, dude. It's gonna be again.
And one more. One more time.
Tell them to stop fixing shit on the right of Mande on our place. We're trying to make a white 52 to present to SCARZ owner.
Wicked.
That's what I was told. The chat needs to stop.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's doing it in my chat right now.
Are you sure about it?
Knocked one.
I hear you.
Tahin. Oh, that's you,
here.
bro.
Luna 7 months, welcome back, thank you. They were just here. Oh shit on my head!
Dude, no shot. That guy's pissed, dude.
Zipline.
Where's the plan?
Zipline below. Someone took zipline below.
I don't know about getting out, man. Tashin got one, you gotta go help him now.
Yeah, I'm here.
You can get behind my knock if you want. I have a gold one.
I'm betting.
Oh, he's won. He's literally
Yo.
won. 90 flesh. On the guy on the right side here, right here. Tashin.
Pushing. Both of them. They're not healing yet. They're trying to finish Manda.
There's no medkit at all.
Dude, what? How did you not die?
I can't fly. Oh, it does the Mandy thing.
They're so mad.
Fucking hell, man.
They got shit inside.
I have nothing to shoot.
Yeah. Let's try them. We're fucking them.
Fucking controller moving thumbs, dude. Okay, that path was MNK. Motherfucker copying Mandy, dude.
Yeah, it's pussy, dude. What is this?
Excellent.
Watch him stream too much, dude.
300k channel points, dude.
Dude, there's
I fucking sniped that shit out of your hand, dude.
I don't know how. Fuck it, dude.
I'm fucking weirder, man. Oh, I've done. You sniped that shit. Oh, I'll take that.
Sentinel, please, anywhere.
Can I have some ammo, man? I got 0 on me.
I dropped it on 13.
That's a lot. I'm pushing.
Literally one shot. That?
Caustic low, Bendy.
11 flash on the caustic. That's one shot. There you go. I'm the best.
Looking curls.
Yeah, they are. Crack the raid. There's one. Raid fucking swap. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? Above me?
There's Bendy.
Pushing.
No way you are running, dude.
70.
Stop
Sentinel on
running.
me.
Crack this bitch again, dude. This guy wants to run to another universe.
Yeah, she's in front of me.
Holy shit, man.
Motherfucker, dude. Try hard Thor on Twitch, dude.
On Twitch, of course. Why was he running, dude? This guy did not even for a second try to turn around and find me. He was running the entire time. By the way, he had a rampage with like about 140 bullets.
Hey, my man.
Not a single time did he turn around and
I want to get an
try to
R9.
shoot me.
Give me crafts.
There's no crafter. Let's go fucking fight. There's people dying gardens. People died here. People dying in power grid. We're going. You don't need bullets where we're going.
Okay. I have 60.
It's enough.
Yikes.
In front of me, Pathfinder. Smoking dick. So am I. He's hit 50 flash. One guy below me here. $145, $160 on horizon.
500.
Behind me, what?
New team. Stay stairs, stay stairs.
Crack one of them, batting. Gotta go down and bat.
90. On Wraith.
Fucking wait. There, knocked.
Good, 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 good. I'm inside the room still.
On me, Bangalore. Crack. Shit on.
55 flash. Oh my god, I got a fucking orbital here.
Dude, I'm...
Captured. Foggers.
I'm on roof. I hear steps still. Below. Oh, actually roof. What the fuck?
What the fuck is happening?
Who's gonna heal? And there's a team from Fright Night also.
Yeah.
Oh, he's scared to peek me.
He's the griefing raid. She dropped off the roof. Purple armor on her.
I'm getting chased.
He's right here.
Oh, I'm coming to you, Tishin.
Oh, they're full sending, I think.
That
Are
sounds
they
good.
full sending?
Thank you.
Yeah, they're on the roof. One got cracked on the roof.
I sent to go back.
It's fine, you'll be fine.
60 flash.
I'm here, I'm here. Where the fuck are they?
Everywhere. Here?
Oh shit.
He's flying. He hits 2 wingman shots while flying in his grapple. Like right here on the pipes. On the pipes right here. One on the roof up in a battery.
Yeah, pop as hell. That's right there. Fucking hell.
Look at the finish. Fucking dog shit. Cringe blood.
You need bad sashina of 7.
Yeah. Go below.
I just dropped my fucking arm.
On me, one guy.
7.
What? Flash.
How's he not dead?
Nice. I hold. 60. Push this party with me.
I can't. There's an archer in front of me.
Oh.
And they're resin.
So
How is he
low,
not
dude.
dead? How is he not dead?
I don't fucking know, dude.
It's legit one, Mandy. Look at the zone. It's gonna kill him. Look.
I don't fucking care.
Look at him. They're so close. I don't know how he didn't die right there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I hit him. Flash 50 also. Fucking luck here. So luck.
Fucking hell, dude.
Unlucky. I'm on 18,999 RP. 18,999.
Nice.
How do I even do that?
Shut the fuck up.
Flix_McLeod just resubscribed for 3 months.
Thanks, 3 months. Welcome back. Thank you. Hi. With a pregnant Mario, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Jamie I, fuck it. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jamie. We're 3 subs from 1,000, chat. Actual 3 subs. Oh wait, you must go. I'm about to hold left. I'm just holding this left. Dude, what is he made of? Please, this opening is 1 HP. He's finishing.
What is that name?
He's finishing. Okay, shit. Holy shit, bro. How is he shooting through doors that I can't do damage?
Mandy, yeah, I'm restable. And this is almost a white.
Oh, I'm a guy. Thank you, whoever.
There. Nice.
Can you drop me your armor sword and take the one in front of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have syringes?
Yeah, here.
Thanks.
Yeah, right here. Well, put a thing right there.
Yeah.
Watch me triple headshot one of them. Oh my god, stop looking at me.
No, that is a Noreg?
I
Suck
saw
my
that.
dick. Suck my dick, dude. What is this? Go building, go building.
What? How did I press
They're-
fucking E on it?
They're playing
Shoot me in
boring
the
ping.
fucking head, please. Holy shit, dude. There's no way that happens, dude. How did I die to these guys? Holy fuck. One died downstairs. Big. Nice.
Oh.
They just sit there and tank the arc star.
Moving
man, you
farms
can't make
only.
this shit up.
It's
Talented.
crazy, dude. Two different teams, dude, just
What's
pushing.
up, Shanley?
So dumb.
Rexy man, it's been 2 months. Welcome back.
I have a good idea. Join me in 2 seconds. Unable to connect to EU servers. New York.
Shut the fuck up.
Reximatus just
Wait,
resubscribed
I
for
can't connect
2
to EU
months.
servers.
LGS
EA
split
servers.
2 playoff
It's like,
champion.
I'm switching to
PLD.
NA, dude. NA servers are fucking not a bunch of weirdos.
Shut the fuck up.
Poetic Lemon doing with tier 1. Welcome.
Shut the fuck up.
It's the
Spark,
Abbas
4 months,
4K
welcome back.
Just resubscribed for 4 months. Pock.
Welcome back.
Oh, I can't see you guys online.
Oh no, what happened?
You guys gotta relog the game, I think, before I can invite you. I just
Okay.
restarted.
Ah, fucking hell.
I don't see Mandy.
I'm rejoining again.
Look, if you are you offline on Steam?
I don't see Manda either. And I see you, Tashin.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's-
I am apparently. There, now I'm online.
I can't
now
join
I
though.
see you, but you gotta invite us on Steam. Inviting us?
I'm joining right now. I had to restart again to get online.
This is NA. This is not NA then. I'm you.
Yeah, I got it. There.
What is?
There. This is gonna be good.
Shut the fuck up.
Neonbeat just resubscribed for 4 months. Good night my beloved pumpkin pie, please spit on me, spit in my eyes and mouth bro, please understand him down, horrific for you and bending over all day for a shaft, slam my bossy into the afterlife bro.
Bro, what the fuck did you make Brian say? Holy shit. There you go. Thank you 4 months, Neon. You going to bed now? Isn't it like 9 p.m. for you? Or some shit? It's your 4th time in bed in one day. What's up, Joker? 4 times in one day? What the fuck are you going through? What is happening over there? Yeah, thank you, David. Oh, you also never sent me the fucking.
Just resubscribed for 4 months. Lunach gifted
Thank you, Luna. You never sent me the progress shit you said you were gonna send me.
They have given 189 gifts.
1,000 juicers, bro. Exactly 1,000 juicers, dude. Holy shit. Thank you, Luna, for reaching 1K. Thousand fucking juicers, man. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go, baby. dude. You're the Among Us. What's up? Yeah, hello, Hatton. Among Us. This Q killed me, bro. If there's another Q like this, I'm not fucking doing this shit. This shit fucking killed me mentally.
Boys, so when is Overwatch 2 coming?
Soon, I think.
Yeah, beta apparently. Beta is April this month.
I love Overwatch 2, man.
It's gonna be the same shit anyway.
Yeah, it is. Just with 5 people instead, and mega OP DPS characters.
We're switching to Overwatch or what?
Yeah, 100%.
Mandy, you jump master.
Yeah, no.
Right on top of it.
Oh yeah, dude, these guys ain't sniping at all, dude.
Yeah, definitely. Put him on a leash, dude. Put him on a leash.
Oh, that's incoming, chat.
What's your name? RMK. Alright, got their names.
Yeah.
I got no ammo. I literally have no ammo. You be cracked on you?
I can't fucking.
Cracked
I'm not
another
allowed to
one?
armor swap. What?
Cracked another one. I'm out of ammo. I gotta go down.
I'm not allowed to armor swap.
You fucking kidding me? Whose barrels are these? This guy? How did he put 3 barrels below us and went all the way up? What? I'm
Confused.
How did he put 3 barrels below us and run all the way on the other side?
I think it's 2 squads.
Lagging.
Oh my god, that's nice. Little Phoenix kid.
Shut the fuck up.
Zephyro just resubscribed for 6 months. Ahoy. Hope everyone
Zephyro,
is having a
thank you
good
so much,
day.
welcome back.
Smiley face.
Come on, just Fair legend, I don't know, Ash raid.
Run, run, run. I'm holding the roof, boys. They're gonna come right away.
Oh Oh boy.
次のリングの中にいる。なんか
Got a stacked alternator.
Yeah,
Ping
dude,
me.
I got 2 alternators. I'm good.
Give me Sentinel, I give Mastiff.
I'm just ready to fight, man.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about all that.
Fuck. Oh, you can't. Wait. Can you not do that here? Oh, you can. What the fuck?
Oh, they're ratting on me! They're terrible! They're fucking terrible! Both on dead, raid cracked.
What they?
New
Hey,
team
you know-
walking in, new team. On your left, station, new team. What the fuck are they ratting?
Nice ourselves.
They're so bad!
No.
Bang on the 1 and
I have no
GP
big
also.
meds. Fucking hell,
Yeah,
dude.
just follow, just follow. If I had more ammo, dude. That Bangalore is so lucky, man. I hate this game.
How are they ratting us? Did they die?
Oh, fuck, it's 1 HP and he's panicking and still surviving.
They're really bad, by the way. Those guys ratting. They like plat.
Motherfucker has 20k badge and 4k, bro. Where the fuck you got that
Homie.
from?
He bought it off Reddit, dude.
Probably.
Fucking hell, dude. That's so annoying. I got shot on the side also. Very poggers, man.
Ballers.
Pogger. Do.
How do we turn from playing competitive 6 days straight into rank against idiots, man? Why? Why? Where's my league? Where's my competitive league all day? Where is it?
I'm peeing. Like,
Good luck. Hello?
Is he fucking AFK? Yep, he is. That's fucking nice.
Time we third party and roll them.
Ah. Where we landing, boys?
The question is, where are you landing? We are already here.
I'm chilling, dude. I'm stacked.
Arrived.
I got 3 R9s.
3?
Yeah.
Where'd you put your third one? Your ass?
Yeah, I have it on my ass, dude. I actually got a 301 massive off the first pill I touched, dude.
Pretty juiced as well.
Holy fuck, dude.
Ready to go. This guy's running here. Oh shit, one turned into 2. Not good. For me.
I'm coming.
Fuse is one shot here, man. He's really low, Tishin. Really fucking low, bro. Nice.
Oh, a real Fuse player? Dude, that's fucking pocket epic sick.
Granata!
A new team.
It dropped? Oh no, you dropped. One dropped, 2 dropped
team.
Here.
I'm pumping this. Rangers.
Oh no.
They're hella fighting, man. I'm coming.
What's this?
Close the fucking door, asshole. Do it to me. You have a medkit?
No.
Here. On our left. Great. I forgot we were
I hate my life. I'm clearing out.
Good on me, free on me. Free on me.
Yeah, I gotta heal. I'm fucking 1 HP.
Yo. Jump from the tower, from the bridge.
Dude, that was 0.1 seconds, bro.
Why? Why do you look here? What's fucking wrong with you? Why do you look here, Kine? Are you special? Dude, Kine, why? What's wrong with you?
Where did he look?
Dude, in the fucking random house. He just walks in.
One inch, lol. there anyone here? Hello?
Yeah?
Is there people here?
I thought you asked. No, I don't think no. I don't think so. There is.
Okay. Fishin, your microphone doesn't work?
No, I'm just focusing.
I went for 33. I mean, slowly. Nice. He's downstairs.
Crap to give you. Why are you in this lobby?
That was far behind the corner, but fuck it, dude. Oh my god, this guy's pissed. Holy shit. I couldn't even see it on my monitor. Then you know it's far behind the corner.
This game should not have been in this lobby.
Why?
If I
You don't
showed
think he was a
you,
very talented individual?
if I showed you what I saw, man, like you would not only think the same as me, you would also feel sorry for him, because I genuinely feel sorry for him that he's in this lobby. He should be in plat, maybe gold.
Damn.
That was really bad. I'm bored of this game right now. Not gonna lie. Here. He's going to the zip line. He's gonna take it right here. Oh no, he's not. On board on. One shot. What are you doing? $45 purple. Good. Both of you are muted. I don't know if you're talking to me at all, but
Oh yeah, I'm fucking ripping comms right now.
neither of you said a fucking thing the entire fight.
Should be here. He should be here.
Now tell me. Scuba diver dooba dooba dooba.
Feet scrubber.
Yo,
Right there.
Arax is fucking trying to take his name back. I just ruined his name.
Would you put
We have to
Mandate
delete
there?
Araxa, dude. No, we're deleting Araxa and putting a heart or something. There's no way you can have his entire fucking name there.
True. How does he even like? How much viewers does he have?
Like 1K. He's been doing it all day, I think. All the rest of the last few days. He's been sitting there between queues just looking at it.
Yeah, we can shit on him easily.
We're doing it apparently. We're fucking ruining it. Hey, I got another one. Hey, dude, it's gone soon! Hey, let's go! Get it away, guys! Remove it!
This airdrop is dog shit. People died in solar 14 seconds ago as well.
There's no sniper scopes on this map.
Yeah, I don't think so.
There was one in the airdrop.
Okay.
Fighting over here. Oh man, it's such a nice and sunny day, and I'm sitting here playing fucking.
Go fucking outside then.
RP simulator, man. Holy shit. I plan to go work out in the sun right now.
I wish
Right
we
now.
had sun.
Yeah, no sun here, dude.
Oh man.
There's so much sun now. It's finally coming out, man. It's been rainy for like an entire week. Now finally, you know when it's raining for a week and then the sun comes out, it's like so much sunnier than like usual.
Yeah.
Like really clears
Because
up.
you're not used to the sun, dude. And then it's just mega juice, you know?
I knew that about him.
Oh, that was bad. 60 on him.
Second floor Pathfinder.
I tethered one. Door.
Outside, 77.
One's on the stairs, man. How are you hitting me, bro? Like half the bullets
Oh!
near me.
Here, 90 on that guy. Oh, he's one. Dead.
That guy's one, Tashi. That blood on. Genuinely one.
Okay, yeah, cool. We got a fucking energy use over here. I killed him. There's a guy behind you guys.
That's the last guy or what?
Oh, yeah. You can rest me for free.
Sure, this guy doesn't have a. Where the fuck are you?
He's on roof though.
Holy shit! What is this spot? That's a different fucking blood on. I'll tell you that much. Come here, man.
I'm second floor chilling.
There's a guy up on the pyramid here.
Oh no.
They're resing the guy, right? Above us. They got him up.
Yeah, right here.
Team's still behind on us.
Stuck.
Two on you, man. I got the high ground. Right here, this corner.
Right here.
Yeah, okay. This guy just hits everything. I knocked the blood on again, man. On me.
Nah, fucking, I don't have big meds. Fucking hell, dude. Themselves.
Yeah, fucking This guy's got fucking meds for a whole fucking nation.
You guys have Phoenix?
Fucking 90 white armor on that fucking Pathfinder.
Oh, he's low.
On the roof. Blood on. You're very alone, man. 90 on that blood on. I can't see him anymore.
70.
Got him.
There.
Can you finish it? Yeah, I got him.
I'm going through. Where is he?
On the roof, no. He patted him out. Fuck, he patted him in the red part.
6 on the octane. The guy's resting his crack almost.
I'm fucking them.
Yeah.
Dog one. In front of me?
Yeah, in front, both.
Oh, he used fucking. Oh, these guys.
I need
Oh,
that
no.
Alabama.
On the pyramid in front of me. Ash 45 blue. Pop the bat or some shit. He's walking away.
Damn. I have fucking no light.
One HP on the side. Nope. His teammate on my left. Valkyrie.
60.
He really tried to
right there. That was. Yeah, A plus for effort, dude.
Dude, rip it, dude.
That was a fucking good attempt. Yeah.
Someone's requesting aid for on our place for SCARZ. When they're doing our logo.
Oh yeah, that's what actually they're ruining our thing because I ruined his name.
They ruined our action and making the SCARZ logo instead?
No, I think they ruined our logo. Nice few shots, Sachin.
Oh, here.
I think I just ruined our action, dude. Like I removed his name completely.
We're under attack apparently.
70 on him.
Oh, above and oh, what the fuck? Another team flying in, left side.
100. Oh, he's literally one.
Nothing.
This guy got fucking his shit on, dude.
Last team shooting each other.
No.
Oh, it's so sunny, bro. I love the sun.
On the trident. One guy. He left.
$45 blue on the guy with the bazoom. 45 flush on him now.
170?
How is he on a blue one?
On.
Did we kill these motherfuckers already like 3 times?
They're jumping. The other team is chasing.
No.
Load on 45 purple. Well, broke the drone. They're gonna crypto ult us. Lodan's alone on you, man. Alone. I got the other 2 fucking locked. Valkyrie's trying to cross to him.
He did.
I tethered him.
I fucking detonated myself there. You got shit on. Dog one.
Ready?
I'm silvered.
Yeah, but he's fucking looking at me, dude. 111 on the other team. You can res me maybe for free.
No. They look at me. Look at me. I don't know
This
why
guy
they see me.
shooted on the roof. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is going on. How are we?
It's one guy, it's one guy.
He's dropping on me. Shout out anything, man. He finished me. He's got literally 0 life in his fucking head.
No, my
god.
I'm not kidding right now. No! It's here. They're resting.
One shot. Develop, nice.
Order to on me.
Oh, I'm coming. Pump this. Pump bad. Soldier's coming, by the way.
No, I couldn't kill him. We died. 1v1.
Don't die to a crypto, please. Thank you.
These guys are so bad, dude. Oh my god.
Oh, it's a good team.
Wait, it was?
We the people and Baron.
Oh, never mind. These guys were nuts, dude.
Fun. Pro teams dying to zone, bro. Nice, Mandy. That's what I want to see.
They destroyed our fucking name, bros. Our names.
Alright, dude. Yeah, dude. Listen here. What did they write? Some dog shit? Dog shit
No,
shit
they
instead,
just
or
fucked
what?
it up. They just fucked it up. That's all.
Oh, they fucked up?
No, they're typing LCDF. They're typing
No,
the
shut
French.
their ass,
No,
dude.
no shot.
Guy.
No shot. They're
Oh my
typing
God,
Les Sites
hey.
France on our fucking spot.
Dude, get this off.
Chat.
I don't care. Get this shit out. Let's sit there.
Les Sites fucking what? Wipe this shit right now.
Shit right now.
They're
Wipe
fucking our
that
name.
shit.
Le who de France, dude. Remove this shit, dude. Oh my god. Yeah, dude, thank you. Holy shit, that was dog shit. At least put some cool shit there. Come on, dude.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
Get a lot of
Dude, what happened to my name, bro? My name disappeared.
Yeah, bad. Hey, write my name again. We're 3 pixels away.
Fix that shit.
Mandy.
They were sneaking in, bro. Who the fuck do you think they are?
God. These motherfuckers writing LCTF, dude. I can't breathe. But what do you think this is, huh? Why is there an H in my name? Machini. They made it Among Us, dude. I have Among Us name now. Oh my god. Alright, be back. I'm getting water. And I'll throw this out.
Hello, Ransom. Oh.
Oh my god, dude. Now I know why. Now I know why people like having a lot of viewers, dude. You can ruin other people's lives. The power it's going through my veins, dude. I can feel it. Oh no, the ego is growing, dude.
Dude,
The ego's growing.
you're turning into a big fish, man. Relax. Fucking shark.
Dude, did you see all the Reddit people molding over XQC? X was like making this like big snake of like Twitch colors and they were ruining everyone's art and shit. And people apparently DM'd him to kill himself and shit, dude.
Wow.
They were fucking mad, dude.
Dude, what the fuck? That's such
Yeah, he
cringe,
legit got
man.
death threats, dude. It's so cringe, dude. So
So
bad.
fucking cringe.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, actually, she literally got death threats for like putting art and shit, like ruining other people's art and shit. Like, holy
Dude, what?
fuck. It's there for like to grief each other and like have fun and like make some cool stuff, you know?
That's the whole point, yeah.
Some people just take it too serious, man.
Yeah.
Alright, this
Dude,
was gonna be my
LCDF
last
was
game.
about to take over.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude,
no.
the motherfuckers, dude. They think who do they think they're messing with, dude? LCDF. Oh, guys, come. Let's ride LC, dude. Boom, wiped out. Oh my god, off the face of Earth, dude. Here, and a Mastiff. Purple armor Mastiff on me.
I'm coming.
And a Sentinel. Tashin, get the fuck down here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call this my last LG, but I wanna catch the sun before it's gone.
Yeah, I'll go.
They're on top, by the way.
Stay on top.
Yeah.
I'm staying here, okay? If they jump, I'm taking one.
I'm gonna tether if he jumps down, so he can go back
Yeah.
up.
Oh, just wait here.
Don't move, don't move, don't move,
Alright.
don't move. He can hear you.
I headshot one straight, okay?
Fucking rat, dude.
I can queue upwards and we can go.
If you want, jump down.
Tether one blue. Out blue. Out crack. Crack the bullet on as well in the right corner.
I'm resting.
Yeah, rest now. Let's go. Dead. All of them. Booty clap. Oh,
There was no chance. There was no chance.
it happens here.
Good night, Brett.
That's what the grind gets you, dude.
Brett, when's your
Been
semester
playing
over,
this
by the
game
way? Isn't it
every
soon?
single day. Long time now. It's starting, dude. I'm starting to hit my peak soon. I feel it. Peak fatness, IRL.
You hit that in high school, man.
Alright, that's true.
You
I already hit
you
my
can't beat
peak. Oh, I
that.
hit my peak in high school, dude.
You can
My
beat
fat
that.
peakness. Yeah, dude. Nowhere. It's never there.
It's fucking crazy how different you were in high school. It's actually ridiculous.
Yeah. Is that, I don't look like the same person, dude.
Yeah, if someone showed me
Well,
that
I think-
picture of you and said nothing, I'd be like, no way, that's you. Like,
I showed
it
it yesterday in chat, and they're like, "You're not fat." I said, "Bro, what the fuck you guys smoking, dude? I was fat."
Okay, your viewers are American. Relax.
Oh, that's true. I was
Different
like,
kind of fat
I was like,
to be
yeah, I
honest.
weighed like 220 pounds, and they're like, for 6'5", that's normal. Bro, what? Normal where? With a backpack on or something?
Makes
With a
sense.
few
Break
weights?
for June, July. Are you gonna have a break when my debut happens? You better have a break when my debut happens.
God. The our place thing is gonna go away today.
Yeah, it's last day.
It's just a cool thing. I love shit like that. When like I feel like communities like come together and shit and do shit like that. It's cool.
I love it, dude. Nice.
I'm pretty sure normal weight is having 100 less from your height. So if you have 180 centimeters, or like at least Marines, from what I know, Marines weigh like on 180
100
centimeters,
less.
they're 80 kilos.
Every 80. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's obviously taking into consideration they have muscles and shit that they work out.
Hmm.
So if you're like a 195, theoretically, if you have muscles and shit, 95 would be like 90 to 95 would be your range, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
Damn. Still a long time to that, dude. For me.
Dude, it's fine. You're fucking grinding.
I am. I improved a lot. I lost a lot.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah,
Hey, you're
that's-
gonna be a different breed
Yeah.
in Sweden, dude.
Yeah,
That's why my goal is-
Yo, where's Tashin? Why is Giga Chat here, dude? Holy shit. And I'm here. Where's our PR, dude? Why is this fucking sexy man here?
I'm trying to
Damn,
reach
what
the
is-
marine ratio as well. That's my goal.
You're 6'1", right? Or 6'2"?
Yeah, I'm 185 centimeters.
Yeah, because we were talking about, I was talking with Verholz yesterday, and they're like, yeah, dude, ESA is a fucking giant. They're like 6'4", 6'3", and 6'1" or something. And I was like, damn, I think we're taller.
Yeah,
I
six.
think we're a bigger team, dude.
Isn't the Shin 6'4" and you're 6'5" and
Yeah.
I'm 6'1"?
Yeah,
we
we're
beat
fucking
them.
massive, dude. We'll smoke the Mariel. In a fight, dude, to the death, we will smoke
No
them.
chance. No chance. I don't
Oh, here.
fuck me.
Fucking one with
Boost these
speed. I
motherfuckers.
don't have boosted.
Was he punching his fucking knock? What was that?
No way.
Hundred on rate.
Brave behind you.
I don't want to be. A lot of purple armor and shit over here. Damn. Nah, I miss seeing.
Chat,
the
if
boys,
I
dude.
read
They're
it,
nice.
I don't really
That
know
just
what
looked the same, I think.
Really.
I think I get like 1 kilogram or something. Since like the last time we saw each
On
other.
me. Please, bro. Just let go of the fucking pit fire. Oh, shit, man.
Oh, you knocked one?
Yeah, what was
Yeah,
that?
I'm outside it.
It was the Spitfire Andy that was just holding left click. That was funny as fuck.
9? Oh,
Oh, is that a miss?
I mean, since we last saw each other, I did lose a lot of weight.
let's go. Get in.
About 15
Go
plus.
after him. Fuck him.
That guy's cracked.
No.
Blow that.
What the fuck? Dude, that guy's so mad at Mandy, bro. What the fuck?
He turned around and started shooting my car, dude. Oh my god.
Shit, man. If that tells you that you're not supposed to be in matches, then
Just one more guy.
mid crack.
Timer out.
No way you're leaving.
Oh, they're fucking running. There's no way.
No, one's close on left.
33?
I cracked Pathfinder, I think.
That's my dad.
Raid's running. Cracked her as well.
I'm taking the whip.
Take me with you.
Yeah, come. Time to drive into him again.
Yeah, he's one shot.
You gave up?
Nah, he just sucks.
Damn, wow, that's not very nice of you.
Well, you know, he shouldn't be this lucky, so it equalizes. That ball her around into an arc star, like shit. I
Oh, I thought it
would
was a
miss
drop,
it
dude.
for these.
Pretty good.
Dude.
Let's go. Boom. I missed the old jump pad, the car.
Yeah, when you fucking went, dude.
You guys
go.
remember the 360 boost Trident no scope headshot in? Remember
Yeah.
that? Then
I remember that. That was good. That's like
Right here.
Dude, long time ago actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right here, right?
Yeah, well, right here.
I'm looking. Oh no. I don't see him.
Yeah, there must be energy.
Oh, wait. Can't get in.
Living on the
I
edge,
have
baby.
500 damage straight out and 5 kills straight out.
The 100 damage to each of your kills.
Yeah.
Low bolt here,
Here.
juice.
Look at my look at my ping. That's what it just died.
Just fucking boosting them.
Yeah.
Give me a sec. I don't know, charge it.
They're inside.
On me. Scattering the ash. Ash is scattered above you. Around the corner, man. Raid is fucking.
That is not a
almost
controller
cracked.
player. I don't know.
It's a
what is
1v1. This Raid's popping a battery here.
Oh, can I get rescue
I'm
then?
come on. Yeah, I'm come on.
Yeah, he popped a battery. His teammates are dead.
Wow.
He's porting
He's
out.
rest.
He's porting towards you.
Oh shit.
Can you knock down again?
Do I take it down or what? He's just
Yeah.
He's trying to finish. He's right
He
here.
finished me. He might have red now. He's gonna swap red.
He's on my. Dude, come on. Oh, that's the most controller thing I've ever seen in my life.
He's got 2 swaps up there.
I'm just waiting.
Yeah. Never lost 1-1 for last team.
I'm gonna push after the medkit.
Oh, he was fucking coming after you, dude. Okay.
Where do I stick though? Right here.
We'll see you at the show.
There's an R9 and massive here, but no ammo.
Alright. You wanna go back for loot?
Yeah.
Alright, they're probably gonna be going on stacks on us, right?
Yeah, like heat shield.
No heat shields.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit, in zone then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can go back to all the people we killed over there, right?
Yeah, easily. Oh! Dude, we teleported backward. What the fuck was that? Where do we kill these guys?
Up top.
Right here?
Hey, by the way, that guy, dude. That one guy on their team is big controllers, by the way.
Yeah.
The, what's it called? The Ash, I think?
The raid.
No, the controller, the Ash. It's stick main, dude.
Think me.
Are there better armors there?
Shut the fuck
There has to
up.
be, right?
Yeah.
Nandame
Please
underscore
double.
just resubscribed for 7 months.
Nandame, thank you for 7 months. Welcome back. Appreciate you. You like soccer? I know what soccer is, man. I've never heard of it.
Nice shots, Mr. T.
Farming them.
That's a Kraber.
They all died. They have a Kraber here. And one of the bodies. No cap.
Oh, that's mine.
Yeah, if we can get to it.
On the left here.
This is the raid. Fucking crack the shit out of him. He's so low. He's literally 1.
Alright, they took the Kraber, I think.
Yeah, they love all of it.
Down,
Cracked one. I just died in the middle of my fucking portal, dude. This game is so bad. How is that a thing? Literally
We need
went
to walk
through the
Valkyrie.
portal.
Let's come back, let's come back. Well, we can just go over here.
Yeah, is the prey over there?
Should be. It's not.
Can you take the solo building?
Hit from 60. Yeah, he's alone, this guy. The Lova. This is solo.
Yeah, kill him.
Want to. I don't have heat shield, so I can't hear rest.
Steps on me.
I'll pick up
Yeah, we
some
just-
shotgun ammo.
Let me just walk out here. There's a guy
Yeah,
like
Valk out.
northeast and open.
You can
Okay.
log out here if you want.
Yeah, let's do it.
Land
Let's
land backside. Look at my ping. Land backside this, yeah. I just found heat shields. Oh. Land this building right here. Alright?
Yeah.
Oh, we can rest Mr. Reaper here also. Nice shots there.
The guy in first floor.
He's low. I can do. Right there. I have to pop medkit.
It's fine.
So 2 guys are dead from the team that just pushed us. I need, fuck, no shot, I no rate that.
I'm good.
Holy fuck, he's controller, dude. Hey, dude, you got that, you got that. He's in here, the Kraber guy. He's right here.
He's fucking.
He can't, doesn't know how to fucking climb. He doesn't know how to climb.
Oh no.
Holy fuck, this guy's the stakes, dude.
He's on the roof now.
He's on me.
It's really bad. Like no cap bad.
He's really fucking bad, yeah.
That's a flat.
Kraber Master, by the way. I'm gonna come down.
I got shit on.
How is he alive?
How did he not hit him? You fucking kidding me?
Sorry.
Sniper versus sniper. Who's better?
You can rest me free, probably.
I don't have shotgun ammo.
Yeah, I got.
What a fucking fight. How is he still alive? He's finally dead, I think.
Sure.
I think the Loba and
Nice
the
one.
Kraber and the... Are you sure? The squad just went from 4 to 3.
Wasn't it 3 all the time?
No?
I need to bat, bro.
No, do it.
I'm batting.
Dumb lost. Pretty sure Kraber's in your building somewhere.
The Lova guy
Yeah,
had
the
that,
Kraber
right?
guy?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it's like on his box somewhere. Bottom floor and the little thingy above.
It's here on me. I got it.
Good.
I'm on roof. On the left, one guy. Behind the blue box.
Yeah, behind me, right?
Holy Spitfire, dude.
No, shot. Fucked up. I nade.
I'm batting.
Yeah, do it.
He,
You guys are not in a good spot.
are we in this corner?
Yeah, I think.
We can just take. You want to take the pad up on them?
I can't take height.
One guy alone on the high. We
50, 130 on him.
One guy broke.
Octane is one.
Got one.
Horizon's on the pillar. Octane died to storm.
No shot! I didn't. Dude, fuck.
Below you.
I'm in there. I didn't know I was in.
Okay, that's
I'm
so
coming
it's
up.
only one guy, I think.
Come on, dude.
Nice.
Just say if you want to play on me.
Stay still.
Yeah, I'm blocking this way. Blocking. No armor. Nothing more.
Pretty sure it's a 1v1v1.
Yeah.
You win this. It's easy.
No. You got him up. There's two now. You got a movie res?
Hey, you can rest me there. Free.
Yeah, just sit there and rest.
You win this, Mr. T.
No.
They have a pad soon, by the way.
Okay.
I think you need to work together with the duo as a solo under you.
I'm gonna knock Octane though. Look.
Yeah.
If you do, that's a win.
It's my last bullet also.
Oh.
Oh, you're not dead!
Oh my god, you hit it for 200.
I'm
Oh,
so mad.
take the rampage.
That's so dumb. Motherfucker, dude. I have a good zone.
There's a rampage inside.
I have a PK now.
Did they whiff the roof? On you.
No one gets on roof.
Oh, dude, what?
So bad.
Man, what was that PK damage on him where I pushed? How much was that?
Oh, these guys are crazy. You got 2 Spitfires.
Wow, you're so good. Alright,
Damn.
I'm done wasting this sunny day in this game.
I'm
GG,
craving. Push pumping is not that. GG out, man.
Boys, GG's. See you guys.
GG's, bro.
Cheers.
Peace
You wanna
out.
find third?
Yeah, just.
Alright, chat, I'm done. I'm done wasting this beautiful day on this fucking video game. If I'm gonna waste it on anything else, on anything, it should be anything else in this fucking game. It's so sunny, it's so nice. It's time to fucking do something productive. So Tito. Alright, chat. Thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you guys around. Maybe tomorrow, we'll see. Peace out, chat. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.